let's go back to the scriptures. Jesus said to Peter, "Who do people say that I am?" And Peter said, "Well, some people say you're John, and other people say, Elijah." But Jesus said, "But Peter, who do you say that I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Christ." And Jesus' response said, "You're right." And then Jesus said these words, "Upon this rock, Peter, I will build my church." And from that point on, Jesus was passing on to Peter the authority to move forward, to continue to build up the church, so that the gates of hell shall not prevail. And from that point on, the apostles took on the role of building the church. And so as we know that in November we will be celebrating divine revelation, the document on divine revelation, that in that document there is this comment about handing on the faith, handing on revelation. And so in that document they say that the apostles pass on to the bishops the words of Jesus so that the church can continue to grow and be alive and be effective in the community. And so we have a succession of bishops telling us what Jesus has said so that we can be a church that is alive and active and proclaiming the good news of Jesus Christ. Yeah, well, I think right now at this point, what's exciting about Pope Francis is that when I hear news come out, he causes me to read up on what he's talking about.
Well, there is an African proverb that says the strength of a nation is in the homes of its families. And so to me, that's what I think is what this is all about, because even our faith, in a sense, is built around family. The relationship between the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is a family. We look to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, the Holy Family. And that nucleus, we call that also the first church, is the family. And so therefore, he certainly knows that where our church goes into the future is going to be dependent on how strong, how faith-filled, how supported Catholic families are going to be in particular, but all families, because we're all created by the same God for the same purpose, to build up his world and to steward it, as well as to build up the church in particular. So you can't really move forward on anything in the world unless you're taking care of families. I have come to believe very strongly that you need to have faith in common. And certainly we want to, if you're Catholic, you want to seek someone who understands where you are in terms of a Catholic person. But if in fact that person does and is seeking after a relationship with God, that's a very good place to start. It's not impossible, but certainly is a challenge to be of different faiths. But we do know of many people, in fact, we both come from blended families where one of our parents was non-Catholic and one of our parents was Catholic. And I think we turned out all right. But anyway.
I think so.
It can be a challenge for some, but I think going into the enterprise, if you will, of marriage, recognizing beyond the wedding, there's reality. And if you're going to live out that reality, it really helps to have the support of all the people who are involved in that family and how you're going to impact that family, because the sacrament is to serve. And so your witness as a married couple may assist in changing some of the things that are going on in individual families. Finally, I would say that it is worth it. I don't think we're saying that enough. I think we all, and the church in particular, has to be very intentional about saying marriage is worth it. The commitment is worth it. I cannot imagine not being married. And although if whatever, unfortunately, something should happen to my husband, I'm not going to get remarried, then I'll be living out my ministry in a different way. So there is ministry for everyone. So that is not to say single people, no, God has a work for single people as well. But for it to be something that people want to be a part of, yes, most definitely. I have a lot of fun with my husband. I have a lot of support from my husband. We couldn't have gone through the things that we've gone through together without being together. I can't imagine that. I'm gonna make you a little upset. And so, he's my best friend. And that isn't to say, in normal relationships, you have ups and downs, you have arguments, you have disagreements or whatever. But we're also working to fix what we know we should do better for ourselves so we can be better for the other. And that is just such a great adventure. That's just wonderful. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that I would just add one little caveat is that in the book of Ephesians, they talk about this one faith, one baptism, one body, one hope, one Lord, one Spirit, God and Father of all. Those seven unities help us to bring ourselves together so that the two can become one. So when we go back and we look at all the things that we're going through, we have to recognize that there's only one God, there's only one faith, there's only one baptism. And that is the foundation of our marriage. Because the goal is that the two shall become one. Mm-hmm. And that is very important. And there's a struggle to become one. But we have to do that because that will be the covenant that God had intended for married couples.
That's the commitment. Gotta follow through.
Gotta follow through. Can't be no contract. Go ahead.
No. That's great.
This is not a game. This is not a temporary affair. You're in a commitment. And one of the things that both Francis have talked about is that, this has to be a commitment where you actually believe, as a friend of mine once said, no one gets out of here alive. Okay? No one gets out here alive. Why? Because we recognize that our love is stronger than death. I think that is, that to me, that's the beginning. And then you have to have marriage preparation. The marriage preparation is so key to revealing each other's desires within a marriage. And then in that process, we hope that when they go through that marriage preparation program or whatever program they have, that they are really coming to understand that you are now moving from a single life that moves into love and care for someone else. Because there is a point of single life, but there's also a point where you move into a life that you give to someone else. Big issue that we have, so that when they get to that altar, they know they are going to become one. I think that's for me.
Yeah, I would say another step for married couples, and even couples who have been married, but the one spouse is still with us and is a widow or widower, but to be intentionally talking about the positive aspects of marriage. We can't assume those things anymore. There was once a time, many years ago, probably 40, 50, 60 years ago, where the whole fabric of society very blatantly supported marriage and family and in whole kinds of positive examples. It's not that easy anymore. We are bombarded by images from everywhere, but still the most poignant image is the one that one human being has with another human being. And so we, unlike our parents, we have to intentionally talk about what's good about our relationship. We have to intentionally bring it up. I mean, that's part of evangelization. We can't be meek about it anymore. We can't just assume someone knows that our marriage is a good marriage, or what's good about our marriage, or just the whole experience of being married, the sacrament of marriage, what that's all about. People really don't know. And in fact, young people don't know. Teenagers don't know. And it may vary with communities, obviously, in terms of what their particular construct is. But I remember being in a conference about, for young people, for teenagers, and we were talking about marriage, and this group that came, the woman who was their chaperone, is a married woman, committed, and also, they're all at the same parish, and one of the children said, no, I've never seen a good marriage. That was shocking to her. She didn't expect that. She's like, but something about not intentionally using the word, talking about matrimony, talking about that as much as we do confirmation, baptism, and so forth, it has kind of sort of dissipated into the atmosphere. Yet, how else will it be brought forward if we're not engaging people in conversations about it, saying things about that, praising our spouses, in public, those kinds of things, having good times around other people, inviting them, and building up marriage ministries along the continuum, from single people all the way through all of the different aspects of life that people go through in terms of relationship, having that element in there so that that's still a part of the conversation. Well, we didn't say a lot about family, but it's in some ways very much starts with that, but not only that, but family is so important. Family should not be sacrificed for anything. And if you do have, first of all, a relationship with God, that's the beginning, and then that's going to affect all those relationships, and you will feel family in many places, not only those folks who have been born into the affiliation, a group of people that you call brothers, sisters, mothers, aunts, cousins, and so forth, but you will find at your workplace, you will find at organizations that you're a part of, you will find at the grocery store. I mean, you will see family in more places. And the level of that relationship has a positive and powerful effect on how we live our lives. So I think, I want people to really remember family is everything. Family is important. Seek after being family. And don't get thwarted by, but I don't have a mother and father, or, I don't know anybody, or, I'm alone. You're never alone. There's always someone. And that it's kind of a reciprocal situation that we should always be looking to include people in, to be part of family. So it's not just I'm sitting around waiting for somebody to be family with me, but let's continue to seek that out and to create that environment wherever we are. But hold our own personal families very dear. There's nothing like that. Especially when it's going well, especially when the support and the love that you get. And all of that comes from God. Yeah. All of that comes from God. Even if you don't know it, it still comes from God.
Peter said clearly, have a reason why you believe. Have a reason. So I'm saying to people that when you see this video, have a reason why you want to get married. And, let that reason resonate so that it is in line with what God has called you to have in life. The scripture said, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So if you desire to be married, then you have to have a reason why you want to be married. Because it's not going to be love all 24/7 every day. There's going to be some rough times.
No, but there's still love.
There's still love, but there's still some rough times. There's some bumps there,
right.
And so you have that. So, have a reason why you want to get married, and then to pray to God for God to send you that mate. I'm saying it again. Have God send you that mate. Let God bring you to that point of this is the one I have created for you, so that the two of you can become what? One.